Hey everyone, welcome to Long Game Yoga. I'm Ken. We're gonna do some twists. And the reason I like twists, and I think a lot of people like twists because it just feels good, but beyond just feeling good, it's got a lot of usefulness, right? If we're runners, if we're cyclists, if we like to hike, there's all kinds of things we can do, but not all of that really involves this big range of motion. And that's something that we want to preserve. We also want to strengthen the muscles on the sides, the oblique muscles, which run here, that help keep everything stable here, right? So a couple years ago, I herniated a disc in my back. I do not recommend doing that. But since then, I've been really committed, both in my yoga practice and also with some resistance training with kettlebells and whatnot, to building up the strength in that area. I think twists are great for that. In the yoga world, you hear a lot of talk about wringing out the toxins with twists. Sure, maybe, I don't know. I think let's focus on muscles. Let's focus on range of movement. Let's focus on not hurting ourselves. So if you've got anything going on with the low back, maybe this isn't the one for you, or take it easy. If you've got any SI joint issues as well, the only thing I would say for that is just take it really easy and let the hips move with the back here. You don't want to be straining that area, so if you need to lift a hip or move a hip, that's fine too. So let's get started on our back. Let's have some blocks handy because we will be using those. I always recommend a pair of yoga blocks. You can pick those up super cheap at like a Play It Again Sports, or not an endorsement, but like a used sports place. You could also, I'm sure, pick them up cheap somewhere else, or you can improvise. Let's come down on our backs and let's just bend our knees. And as usual, I do like to start every practice with a little bit of just breathing and stillness. So it's a good place, if you want to take that, maybe pause the video for a couple minutes. Just come to your breath and feel centered on the mat. Let that muscle tension just drop away. Start to deepen the breath. Really let the breath fill all the way up to your lower belly. Feel it come up the chest. Even feel your collarbones move. You're taking a deep breath if you're feeling that, and none of that sort of shallow breathing that we'll often be doing. So really just deepening the practice and deepening the benefits through the breath. So again, take as long as you like. And then we're just going to start moving with some real gentle wiper twists with the legs. So maybe bring your arms out in a T shape. Drop the knees down over to the left side. Just see how it feels. These opening moments of a flow are really about, and we'll bring them up and drop them the other way. It's really about checking in with the body, seeing how you're feeling, seeing what areas might be tight. Maybe some areas already feel good, but we're not really making a big judgment about it. We're just checking in. And of course, if you have any little lingering chronic pains or injuries and you need to work around it, please, please, please go ahead and do that. Nothing I'm going to say or do here is mandatory. So just take what works for you and don't worry about the rest. So we'll do one more time, side to side, and then let's turn it up a little bit. So this time what I want you to do is stack your knees above your hips, and then we're going to bring the shins parallel to the floor and bring those arms out into that T. Maybe have your palms down on the floor. And then just like we did before, we're going to drop the knees over to the left. And here I'm really starting to feel like my outer hip and the outside of my right rib cage, which is where those oblique muscles are. I feel those getting a nice stretch here. And then we'll come back through center and we'll go the other way. So now the knees are dropping down to the right. Try and keep, if you can, both shoulder blades on the mat. That way we're getting the twist. We're not rolling, we're just twisting. And again, now I'm feeling it on the outside of the left rib cage. Maybe you're noticing something there. We'll do it again to the left. Keep the breath flowing and we'll come up. We'll do it again to the right. And then we're going to do it one more time each side. And if you want to make it a little tougher, instead of keeping the legs bent, straighten the legs. And then as you tip over to the left, you'll see it's a bit more challenging. You get more of a stretch. Inhale up through center, and then we're going off to the right. Keep breath flowing. Nice. And then we'll bring the legs up and then squeeze everything in. Really round into the spine. And here's where you get that sort of bonus where you can massage out the low back, roll up and down the length of the spine. And then from here, let's just come up and over. We're going to come to our tabletop. You'll see I put this in every flow, this sort of cat-cow. So we're coming to our table, spreading the fingers nice and wide. Really grip the mat. Like think about like little like gecko lizard hands. That grip strength is going to help us out. We're stacking the shoulders over the wrists. The hips are over the knees. The ankles are not rolling out. And then we're going to come into our cow pose. So we're lifting the gaze, pulling the heart forward, dropping the belly, lifting the hips. And then we're going to reverse that. So we're rounding into our cat pose. And then starting to flow with the breath. Inhale through your cow. Exhale through your cat. And it's this flexion and extension of the spine that can help keep, number one, those muscles that line the spine, feeling stretched and feeling supple. I think it's also good to keep that range of movement between the vertebrae and the discs. And when we do it here, we're not loading any weight on it, which helps. And so we'll take one or two more rounds, just moving at your own pace, seeing if you can really actually feel that sense of moving one vertebrae at a time, making this nice, graceful wave shape through your spine. And then from here, we're coming back to our tabletop. What I'd like to do now is drop the forearms down. So they're not super far in front of us. Maybe the elbows are just a little ahead of the shoulders. From here, we're going to step the right foot back, coming onto the ball of the foot, and then check this out. Hover the foot, bring it all the way over to the left as far as you can, and stay on the ball of the foot. And then, if you feel stable, start reaching that right arm forward. And this will get a stretch all the way from, honestly, I feel it in my tricep. I feel it along my ribs. I feel it in my IT band, the outer hip. So since we're going to be working those muscles, I want to give them a little bit of a stretch. So take another round of breath here. And then bring the arm back, and then bring the leg back. Maybe take a little mini cat-cow with the forearms on the ground. And then we'll take that to the other side. So this time, it's that left foot that's stepping back. We're going to hover it up and bring it all the way over to the right, as far as you can. Feel that stability if you can, and then start to reach that left arm forward. You might even look underneath that arm. Keep the leg engaged, keep the arm engaged. And you can also play around with pushing the hand and foot away from you or pulling it toward you. Those little movements to engage the muscles in ways that might not always be engaged. Nice. And then we'll come back. And from here, let's just tuck our toes. We'll lift the hips up and back. We'll make our way to our first downward facing dog of the flow. Stepping your feet back if you need a little more space. Let's start by bending the legs nice and deep. Push the hips up and back. I really am big on the idea of getting the spine as long as possible here. So from those hip creases, or rather the wrist creases up to the hips and the sitting bones, we want to get nice and long, arms are straight, and then maybe you start to straighten into the legs. You can also walk out your dog, bending one knee, bending the other. Or here's another thing that can feel good, especially for what we're doing today. Drop the heels over to the right, but keep the hands where they are. And you might feel that outer hip getting a stretch right there. Then bring them back to center, and we'll just drop them the other way. Oh, this feels good. Then we'll just do that 1 or 2 more times each side. And then we'll come back through the middle and then settle into our down dog. Take a couple of rounds of breath here. And as we're flowing, I like to take a little bit longer breath. See if you can take a 5 or 6 second inhale, a 5 or 6 second exhale. And then we're going to look forward. We're going to step the right foot to the right thumb. And then drop that back knee. This is where the blocks can come in handy, like so. Otherwise, you can just bring your hands up to the thigh. That's fine too. We're going to stretch the hip flexors a little while we're here. So it's this left front of hip crease that you're probably feeling it. Letting those hips swing down, letting them swing forward. But then what I want to do is back off a little bit. Lift the torso upright. Reach that left arm forward, and then bring the outside of the left hand to the outside of the right knee. And then we're going to open the arm, the right arm to the back of the mat. So we've got this leverage between the hand and the knee that can deepen this twist. And then what I want to do is reach that left arm to the front edge of the mat. So there's a really important dynamic I want to play with in this class. And that is when you inhale, see if you can lengthen your spine. And as you exhale, see if you can deepen the twist. So every time we're in a twist, we can think about that dynamic. We'll take one more round of breath. And then let's inhale the arms up. Maybe if you feel steady, you could look up and press your palms together. Look at your hands. And then we'll lower the hands. You can move those blocks out of the way. We'll tuck the back toe, lift the knee, and step right back to our down dog. Pushing those hips up and back again. Noticing how it feels. And then we'll take it to the other side. So when you're ready, look forward. This time it's the left foot stepping forward. Right knee drops, untuck the toes. Again, you can use the blocks or you can just lift up the hands to the thigh or the knee. Coming down a little bit to get into the hip flexors on the right side. It's always nice to hit those because those get tight. You know, when you think about all the sitting that we typically do, or many of us, not everybody, but many of us do. And that just makes those muscles shorter and weaker. So let's stretch them. And then when you're ready, we'll back off a little bit so we can get the torso nice and upright, and we're going to reach the right arm forward this time. Bring it to the outside of that left knee. Open the left arm. And again, think about it. Inhale the crown of the head up nice and tall. Exhale, deepen your twist a little bit. And the other thing with twists is sometimes it can feel like it's a challenge to get a full breath in, because we're twisting. But if you go slow, you can do it. So really think about drawing the air to the bottom, to the belly, up through the lungs, top of the lungs. And then if you want to reach that right arm forward, you can go ahead and do that. Try not to lean forward or lean back. And then we'll inhale the arms up, touch the palms, maybe look up, hands come down to the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee, we're stepping back to our downward facing dog. Hips are up, hips are back, arms are straight. Spin the biceps forward a little bit. Think about getting long from the sit bones down through the heels, and the heels don't have to touch the mat. I think a lot of people think that's what it should look like, and there are people that can do that because they've got weird, freakish tendons now. They're probably just more flexible in that area than I am. My upper back, or my lower back, which now is the upper back, is always tight. So you can see my down dog is not as perfect as I would like it to be, but it's as perfect as it needs to be for me. So when you're ready, go ahead. We're going to bring our feet to our hands. Inhale, come into that halfway lift. So here we really want to think about the spine being nice and long. Sorry, my necklace keeps falling out here. Note to self, take the necklace off. Bring more weight to the front of the feet rather than sitting back in the heels. And we've got this nice hinge right at the waist, this nice straight spine. Find a little bit of low cobra here so that we're pulling the heart forward. And then fold all the way over. And we're going to take a couple breaths here. So if you want to grab opposite elbows. Another thing that can be nice is interlace the fingers behind the head. And it helps to traction out the neck a little bit. I don't know if this will really stop us from shrinking as we get older. If we, keep putting this space in the spine, if we can do that. Or just reverse the relationship of the spine to gravity every now and then. But it feels good, so let's try it. When you're ready, you can drop the hands down, and then on an inhale, we'll come up with a flat back. Reach up overhead, hands come to heart center. Let's take a half sun here. So inhale the arms up. Exhale is this nice swan dive to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And you can see my hands are on my legs, but I'm not really pressing. I'm just kind of resting them there for a point of reference. Exhale, forward fold. Root down again to rise. Hands come to heart center. So we're going to go for a full Surya Namaskar A, a full sun salutation here. When you're ready, inhale the arms up. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale to your flat back. Keeping that flat back, plant the hands. We're going to step back to plank. So in plank, there's a couple of options here too. You can always drop your knees for a modified plank. Plenty of work. If you're in full plank, you're on the balls of your feet, you're pushing the heels back, pulling the heart forward, trying not to let the butt go up too high or sink down too low. We want to be in that straight line, if we can, from the heels through the crown of the head. And then as we lower down, we're going to bend the elbows. The ribs are grazed by the elbows as they come down. And then we're going to leave the hands at the low ribs here. Hopefully we've got the elbows above the wrists. It can be hard to tell, so just scooch them back just to be safe. The hands, I mean. Press the tops of the feet into the mat, lift the kneecaps, spin the inner thighs to the ceiling, and on your inhale, start to lift the head, neck, and chest up off of the mat. Finding that low cobra, that broadening across the collarbones. Roll the shoulders back, pull the elbows towards one another. Maybe lift the hands. And then exhale your forehead to the mat. You can make your way up through a tabletop, or if you'd like a plank or a modified plank, see if you can use the exhale to initiate the movement. So take an inhale, and on the exhale, push straight up. And the hips come up and back. So we're back in this down dog. Returning to the breath again, trying to keep that nice, strong, supple breath. You'll hear me talk about it a lot, but the breath is really a key part of our yoga practice. I think it's a way we can hack into our parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. Just makes it a little more responsive, right? So we've got that sense of the gas pedal, which is the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. The brake, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is, I guess, rest and digest. I've also heard it called breed and feed, which I like too. So from here, when you're ready, look forward. We're stepping the right foot forward, and we're staying balanced on the ball of the back foot. This is where you want to grab your blocks. So we want to have a nice long stance here. We've got the knee, the right knee over the right ankle, deep bend in that right leg. Back leg is nice and straight if you can get it there. Hands are on the blocks. Push through that back heel. And my torso is just kind of hovering over this front leg. I'm not resting on the front leg. I'm just hovering over the front leg. That's where the blocks are super handy. If you don't want the blocks and you feel strong, you could always just float your hands up or bring your hands to heart center. But for now, we'll just leave them on the blocks. And then when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and straighten into that front leg. So a couple things to think about here. Press the big toe mound of that right foot into the mat. Maybe lift the toes. Keep the spine straight too. So we don't want to curve down here. For today's practice, I want to think about, again, lengthening the spine. So maybe the torso is parallel, back leg is straight too. And then we're rebending the front leg. And let's all keep the left hand on the block. Right thumb comes to the right hip crease. Push the hip back a little bit. And then we're going to twist open to the right. You can leave your hand on the hip. You can raise the hand to the ceiling. You could take a half bind if you like. We're just thinking about stacking the shoulders. So my right shoulder is above my left shoulder. And we've got this nice little twist. Again, inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist. You're going to get sick of me saying that by the end of this flow. So I'll try not to be so crazy about it. And then we'll unwind, hands come down, move the blocks out of the way. We'll just step back to our downward facing dog. You've got time to slip in a vinyasa if you would like to do that. Otherwise, we'll just hang out in down dog for a round of breath. And then looking forward, coming up high onto the balls of the feet. We're stepping the left foot forward. Again, staying balanced on the ball of the back foot. Nice long stance here. Deep bend. Should really, I mean, the ideal is we look for a 90-degree bend there. But no one's keeping score. So you'll know when you're feeling a nice challenge. And that's kind of what we want. Back leg is nice and straight. Again, option to float the hands or bring the hands to heart center. And then we'll straighten the front leg, push the hips back. If you need to relocate the blocks under the shoulders, you can do that. Again, we want to try and keep the spine long and straight here. Coming back to the breath. Really feel those muscles in the legs pulling to the bone. We know they're nice and straight and active when we do that. Nice. And then walk the blocks back out. If you moved them, we're going to take the twist on this side. So this time it's the right hand staying on the block, left thumb, poop right there into the hip crease. Kind of push it back towards your right foot. And then you can start to open up. Now I'm going to take the half bind here, just because my left shoulder's been giving me a bit of business lately. Bit of the business. And feel how this twist is like a spiral, right? So from the belly button that starts to move to the sternum that moves a little farther to the collarbones, which go even farther. It's that spiraling. It's okay in your neck. You could even look up at your hand or the ceiling. And then we'll unwind. You can set those blocks out of the way, frame up the front foot. Here's a great place for a vinyasa, or just head back to your down dog. And once we come to down dog, let's go ahead, drop our knees to the mat. Bring the big toes together, sink the hips back. We're going to find our child's pose. Let's bring the forehead to the mat if that's comfortable. If your knees bug you, you can always just leave your hips higher, like this, like a puppy pose. Maybe resting your head on your hands or reaching the arms forward. Or just sit back. But it is nice to build in a couple moments where that effort and exertion that we're making has the opportunity to diffuse throughout the body, and gives us, we're sort of, the more challenging postures, it's kind of like we're shoveling coal into the engine of this train that works on coal. And then when we have these moments of rest, it's like that heat and that energy just spreads through the body, which I think we want. And then from here, when you're ready, we're going to reach the arms forward. We're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back. Finding our downward facing dog one more time. Let's look forward, bring the feet to the hands. Inhale to a halfway lift with a flat back. Exhale, folding over. And then root down through your feet as you lift the torso. Reaching up and overhead. Hands come to heart center. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come into our chair pose. We're not doing a sun B. We're just coming into chair pose. And I'm going to face the camera just so you can see how we're going to position ourselves. So we're going to come down into chair. And let's start with our elbows on the knees. Right? Nice flat back, nice long back. And then hands come to heart center, and we're going to twist over to the right. So I'm going to take the outside of my left elbow and bring it to the outside of my right knee. And now that I have this nice leverage, we can get this nice twist. Maybe sink the hips a little bit deeper. And then from here, we're going to transition into a diagonal lunge, keeping this twist. So I'll show you that. And if this doesn't work, you can always bring your hands down to your blocks, step back, just come into the twist. But if you're feeling a little spicy this morning or this afternoon, whatever time you're watching this, what we're going to do is keep the twist like we had it with the prayer hands, and then shift the weight into the right foot, lift the left foot, and then step it back. Coming into that diagonal lunge, if you need to adjust the stance, go ahead and do that. Straighten that back leg. Stomp down through the right heel. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist. One more round of breath. And then hands come down. We'll just step back to our down dog. And boy, I notice the difference in my sides right now. So we're going to bring that to the other side. So when you're ready, look forward. You can step or hop your feet to your hands. Inhale to your flat back. Exhale, fold over. Inhale to rise. Hands heart center. So we're coming back to chair. Starting with the elbows on the knees. Sink those hips. Bring the hands to heart center. And then we're twisting to the left. So this time it's the right elbow that's catching the outside of the left knee. Try to keep your hips in the middle of the mat so we're not swinging them over. Everything's pinned to the midline of the mat and we're twisting. So you can keep the gaze down for stability. Or if you want to extend that twist through the neck, you can look up toward the ceiling. Keep the hips low. Keep breathing. And then we're going to make that step back. So again, you can bring your hands to blocks first if you'd rather do that. Otherwise, we're shifting the weight to the left foot, lifting the right foot, and stepping back. Take whatever little adjustments you need for stability, for distance. Back leg strong, front leg strong. Twist is deep. Breath is flowing. One more round of breath, everyone. You can do it. And then hands come down. I'm going to take a vinyasa. It's a good place for it now that we're even. So we come to our plank. Lower down halfway or all the way. Inhale through our back bend. Exhale back to downward facing dog. We'll take one more round of breath, a nice stretch here. And then we're going to come down on our knees. Roll over our ankles. And we're going to come down to seated. So we're going to take a couple of seated twists. Everything we've done has been leading up to what should hopefully feel like sort of the juiciest twist of class. It should feel also probably like the deepest twist of class. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring both legs out in front of us. Before we go anywhere, let's take a quick forward fold. So lengthen the spine, get up high on your sit bones, and then hinge forward. And you can grab your toes, grab your feet. If they feel out of range, grab your strap or whatever you're using for a strap. So that could be a dog leash, it could be a bathrobe tie, piece of rope, whatever you can think of. Pull up and out, and then you can fold over a little. So since we have been twisting, it is nice to kind of let the spine neutralize again with something that's a little more symmetrical. Still working those nice long breaths. And then we'll sit up and check it out. What we're going to do is we're going to bring the right sole of the foot into the inner left thigh, and the knee is going to drop out to the side. Let's take a twist toward that bent leg. So when you're ready, inhale the arms up, exhale, twist. So the right hand is out in back of me and it's on fingertips. My left hand, once again, is outside that knee, and I'm twisting to the right. Keeping the left leg strong, trying not to lean forward or back or side to side. So I'm trying to keep the spine straight so the crown of the head is still over my hips. Again, we have this leverage that we can work with here. And then we're going to release the twist. And then we're going to frame the front foot. Inhale the heart forward and then hinge forward. So again, grabbing the foot or the strap, you could hold your ankle if that feels better. So it's sort of a little twist because we are kind of twisted more to the left than normal because of the way we're sitting. You can let the spine actually round here a little bit if you'd like. And then we're going to lift the knee and lift that right knee, or lift the torso, lift the right knee up. So we're going to set up for a Marichyasana twist. So there's a couple of options. So take a peek and I'll show you what the options are real quick. So if you want a deeper version of this twist, keep the foot right where it is. So the heel is lined up with my sit bone on the right side. If you don't need that much of a twist right now, you could take the foot, hop it over the left leg. So that's going to bring the knee a little bit more to the left so you won't get as deep of a twist, which you may not need, and that's fine. So those are two options. There are two other options. It's where you're going to put your hands. So I'll show you with the foot over in line with my sit bone. Option one is as we twist, grab the knee in the crook of the elbow and then twist like this. So this feels great. Option two, which will take the twist even deeper, is to reach the arm up and then bring the elbow to the outside of that knee. And that gives you even more leverage. So whatever option you choose, go ahead and take. We're going to take a couple rounds of breath in this nice deep twist. Seeing if you can feel those muscles on your sides, the obliques, they're stretching. Some of them are pulling, right, to help us twist. That's what's causing that twist. Others are relaxing and stretching, so we've got that opposition happening. That makes the muscles happy. And then we'll go ahead and unwind. You can straighten out that right leg, maybe bounce the legs for a second. We'll take it to the other side. So this time it's the left sole of the foot comes to the inside of the right thigh. You can let that left knee drape out to the side or hinge out to the side. We'll come up and then we'll twist over to the bent leg. Little preview twist. Again, keeping the spine long. We don't want to curl back here. We want to keep it nice and long. Maybe the gaze comes out over that left shoulder. If you've got anything going on with the neck, the gaze can land wherever. One more round of breath. And then we'll unwind. Frame that front leg. Maybe grab the ankle or the shin or the foot itself. Come up and over, and then you can fold over the leg. This is called head to knee pose. Not that original of a name when you think about it. And then at the bottom of your exhale, we're going to sit up and we're going to lift that left knee, set up for that twist. So again, the options are foot here, elbow here on the knee or elbow to the outside of the knee. So you decide where you'd like to go. Probably keep it the same as you did on the other side. We want to keep that sense of balance. But if you modified it because you've got anything going on, feel free to do what's comfortable. I mean, really, take whatever depth of twist is going to work for you here. But like I said, this should feel like, hopefully, the deepest and most satisfying twist of this flow. One more round of breath. And then we'll come back through center, straighten out that left leg. And then from here, let's just come down on our backs. While we're here, let's grab one block. What I want to do is take a quick supported bridge. Again, just with the idea of neutralizing the spine after those deep twists. So you can bend your legs, plant your feet. Your heels should be close enough to your butt that you can just reach down and graze the back of your heels with your fingers. And then we're going to push the hips up and put one block or two blocks, whatever feels right, under your sacrum. And then just rest the sacrum down on the block. And the sacrum is that flat spot between your low back and your glutes. You can stay here, maybe stretch the legs out in front of you. Just getting a little bonus hip flexor stretch right at the end here. Otherwise, if you'd like to, you could lift the legs up to the ceiling. This is a little bit of an inversion because we do have the heart over the head. We're changing the way the blood flow in the legs sits in relation to gravity, right? We're not literally changing the blood flow. But normally it has to work a little harder to get the blood from the feet up. And this time, because we're flipped this way, it changes that up a little bit. It feels good. And this is something that if you ever deal with insomnia, right? If you ever have a hard time sleeping, or if you ever even, reach the end of the day and you're just stressed out of your gourd, this is a nice position. Just pop into something like this for 5 minutes or so, and you will notice like a pronounced difference in your mood and just how your nervous system feels. Stay here as long as you want. Otherwise, you can drop the feet slowly, lift the hips, get that block out from under, lower the spine to the mat. For just a moment, you can walk your feet to the outer edges of the mat. Let the knees knock together. Feel that spine really settle all the way down here. And then let's finish with a nice gentle twist. So let's do it with the knees together this time. If you want a little bit more, you could always cross the legs and scoot the hips over. But since we did a lot of twisting here, let's just have the knees one on top of another, and we'll just let the knees come over to one side. This is where we want to start to just relax. If you're holding any tension anywhere in your muscles, you can just let go of it. Feel the muscles and the bones just like weighing down on the floor and on the mat. This is maybe not the juiciest twist of class, but kind of the nicest. Then we'll bring the knees up and we'll just take them off the other direction. So again, you can stack the knees, maybe stagger the knees. Just let them drape over. A lot of times I will, emphasize keeping both shoulder blades on the mat as we do this. But if it lifts a little, that's not a big deal. Let's take one more round of breath. And then we'll come back through center. And then go ahead, squeeze both knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins. Take some movements here. Rolling out everything on the back. And then let's set up for a Shavasana. So as I always say, you can take as long as you want here. You can let the video run out and just spend, 5 minutes, 10 minutes in Shavasana if you like. Traditional Shavasana is just the legs are out, the arms are out, palms are facing up. You could also bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees drop out, or really any comfortable position for you. But you do want to just let that energy settle into the body. All that work we did, all that twisting, hopefully it feels nice and balanced and open. And then, like I said, stay there as long as possible. So, these twists I think they're just super healthy for us. I think, they feel good. I think that they help engage the muscles on our side bodies and around that core area, which I think is advantageous for us. I think they also allow us to maintain range of motion, right? I mean, you think about this. Like it used to be when we would drive and had to back up and reverse, we would, turn our head and look back. Or when I used to ride when I'm riding my bike before I had mirrors on them, if I want to check behind me, I'm always twisting. We were always making that movement, but it seems like with cameras and mirrors and all that stuff now, we don't do it as much. So I think preserving that nice twisting range of motion is really good for us as we're getting older. It's not even an old thing. It's just a moving through life thing. The more mobility we have, I think the better off we are. So we're protecting ourselves. We're keeping that mobility. I think that's where the real benefits of twists are. Hope you liked this flow. If you have questions, put it in the comments. I'll get back to you. If you liked what you saw here, you could hit that thumbs up. You could subscribe on the button down below. Thanks for flowing with me. I hope to see you back on the mat at some point.